Hi guys, and welcome back to the first part of this series of masterclasses, where we're going to look at, in this specific series, we're going to look at the how we can carry out listing level research and analysis using the StayTrack platform in order to improve your efficiency, returns, and results when operating either rental arbitrage or investing and purchasing properties and real estate for service accommodation and short-term rentals. Later on in the series, we're also going to look at how we can do market level analysis, look at the demand that sits behind markets, and also if we can pick out any red flags or green flags within the market level data that might give us an insight into kind of the high level macro trends of the wider area in which the listing sits. But within this specific series, we're just going to look at listing level analysis and also how we can pick out high performance clusters within areas, which can then help us understand what areas we should be focusing on and direct our sourcing focus in order to find deals and fill our pipelines in those locations, specifically within neighbourhoods, not just general wider locations. And that will increase your hit rate and also reduce the amount of time you spend doing due diligence on properties and then finding out the exact location that you've picked up a deal in isn't high performing and is not the most efficient location within that specific market. So first thing we're going to do is look at how we select areas. Now, we've already done a video on that, and if you've not watched this video, I would definitely recommend going back and watching how you can create custom locations and also how you can actually find markets and locations using the search with map feature, and also how you can save them for future. To find that tutorial, you just need to go up to the help section on the top right and then go into get started, and then you can access either how to find and search for locations or creating custom dashboards, and that'll talk you through how you can find locations and access them. But in today's tutorial, we're just going to focus on West New York in terms of our hotspot analysis, and then we'll move on to the listing level analysis through search comparables and also the valuation tools in order to do a full due diligence on that listing. So first thing we want to do is try and find hotspots. So especially in this current market where people are looking into different markets within their state or outside their state or even in a different country, it's imperative to be able to understand not only if a market generally is performing well, but also where within that specific market are the high performing, or not even just the highest performing listings, the highest performing listings in your niche that you're trying to target. So whether that's just 2-bed listings, or maybe that's 1 bed, or maybe you're going for the 5, 6, 7-bed larger properties. You've got to understand where within that market those properties have the highest demand and where they're situated. And now with Airbnb, in most cases, where there currently are high performing properties is where you want to be, and that's where the demand is. So first thing we're going to look at is we're going to look at 2 to 3 bed apartments in West New York and try and understand where within West New York should we focus our attention and where are the best performing properties. Because when you first look at West New York, there's listings all over the city, all over that specific neighbourhood. So what we want to do is we want to actually filter that down and see where should we focus, where should I try and source deals, whether that be through rental arbitrage or through purchasing Zillow, or maybe you've got an agent in the area that you want to get to focus and target on very specific streets for your portfolio and for your strategy. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to utilize these filters on the left hand side. So these filters, move this camera to that side. So when you land on map view, you have the filters on the left hand side, and with those filters you can then filter down those listings to be able to access additional data visually, and also to pull out listings that you don't want to appear on the map. So You have your general filters, which is listing type, property type, rating, bedrooms, guests, bathrooms. They're all your standard filters, and they'll allow you to focus in on the niche you're trying to target, as well as the amenities down at the bottom. But today we're just going to keep it high level. We're not going to drill into any specific niches. We could focus on, actually, we'll focus on 2-3 bedrooms. So pull this down to 3 bedrooms, we'll set down onto 2, rather than just going high level. So now we've got 2-3 bedrooms, we then want to go down to the kicker performance metrics. Now with these performance metrics, you can filter for the high performing listings. So with that, you get to filter previous 12 months revenue, occupancy, average daily rate, and days available, and that will allow you to filter down what you're seeing visually on the map by those performance metrics. So what we want to do is we want to say, look at all listings that are above 30,000 in revenue. We've got at least 70% in occupancy and have an average ADR of greater than 200. And then when you come to the bottom, this text within this button will update to the number of listings that are within your search criteria. You can then make that search, and that will then update the map based on all of the filters you've applied. So now what we can see is we can see from the previous version where we had listings across that whole segmented area, we've now actually got 3 or 4 clusters of where those high performing listings gather. So now we can see up at this top area, this middle area, and then 2 sections in the bottom from of the water. From this, I would then be saying we need to focus in on these areas. So before, you might have been, without carrying out this research, you could have been wasting time on trying to find listings in this top area. And what you'd have eventually found out that that's not a high demand area. Now, if you live in that area and you've been there for all your life, you'd probably know that already before you even come onto the platform. But this is specifically useful for those that are looking to go beyond their local area, beyond their patch, and expand their portfolio, expand their business, and do that with confidence. And with tools like this, you can definitely achieve that. So from this point of view, I would then be going to Zillow, reaching out to my agents, and focusing in on the clusters that we just mentioned. And then what we can do is, once we get an actual deal across our desk with a specific address, we can then analyse that deal at the listing level. In order to do that, we want to come out of map view, we want to go back into dashboard, and the first tool we want to go to is search comparables. So what search comparables will do is it will take an address, number of bedrooms, number of baths, number of guests, and it will return to you 25 of your nearest competitors. And from that, and from that, this takes a couple of seconds to load. In case you're having some delays on your end, it takes a couple of seconds to load all the comments. So from that information, you can then get a better understanding of where properties are sitting in terms of their value, their ADR, their revenue, location, and also you can get a better understanding of where your property might sit within that market. So you don't only just get the competitors that are within your niche, you get the competitors that are around your property that have the same number of bedrooms, guests, and that's ranked by distance. So we can look at this data in 3 different ways. We can look at it in map view, we can look at it in scatter graphs, and then we can also look at it through the title cards. Now, the first way is via the map, so you can look at where they are in comparison to our location. The property we're looking at here is just sitting in this area here, and you can then click and view the listing level stats of that property. So you can just click on here, you can look at the revenue, you can look at the ADR, you can look at the number of days available to be booked, and you can look at the occupancy. Remember, the occupancy is based off of the number of days that property was available to be booked for in the last 12 months, not over the full year. So for example, the property we're looking at here has 65% occupancy of 196 days that it was available to be booked. Now, moving away from the map, we can then move into the scatter graph. The scatter graphs give us a better opportunity to understand, first of all, the range of ADR and the range of occupancy. also the range of revenue. We're going to focus on ADR and occupancy. So whenever you enter any market, you want to understand who's at the top, who's at the bottom, and especially if you're obviously a rental arbitrage investor, there's less scope in terms of changing the fundamentals of a property and its core decor, amenities, etc. So with this, you would want to be looking to try and understand where does your property sit within those competitors. Is it at the low end, the middle end, the high end? And or maybe if you've got more scope, but like if you're purchasing the property, you do have more scope to invest, upgrade the property, upgrade the furniture, the decor, add amenities, whether that's a pool, hot tub, games room, etc. If you're in the latter, you're looking at this and saying, okay, who's in the top of the market? What do they have? Why do they achieve that higher ADR? Is it location based? Is it amenities? Is it the decor? Is it maybe a garden in an area where gardens aren't the norm? Things like that, and getting a better understanding of what's driving that higher ADR. And once you get that, you can then understand how you can implement that in your listing. And if you can't implement it, you can understand why they're achieving more than you, and then you can get a better understanding of where you'll sit to predict the performance of what that property is going to achieve. And that's really key. Then with the scatter graph, it's dead easy. You can just hover over these listings. For example, this is middle of the road, 317 ADR. You can just hover over that and quickly get a bit good understanding of the listing, what it looks like, and what it's achieving. Again, you can do the same here. For the highest, you can go over here as well. And for the lowest, you can do the same here as well. And the third and final way is through title cards. So all of these properties have a number. Even when you're on the scatter graph, they all have a number, 11, and that relates to the rank down below. And the ranking is just based on how similar, based on bedrooms, number of guests, bathrooms, and distance that listing is to the listing you've entered for analysis. And from here, we can then come down and we can look at the different properties, the different ranges, and we can see there's probably a three-tiered market here. You've got your upper end, your middle, and your lower. You've got your upper end where the ADRs are all sitting around. There's $500, $500, $400, $400. And then you've got the secondary market, which is sitting at around 255, 236, 220, 267, 350, 317, 298, and 255. And then you've got the lower end of the market, which is 110. You can see these are here. The higher end, 191, 132, etc. So from this, we can then go in and look at the full property details. You can click that, and then that will bring in up all the listing images. You can scroll through all these. It will take you. You can click the logo there, and it will take you straight to the listing link to analyze listing in more details. You can look at the KPIs. You can filter through revenue, ATR, occupancy, and you can also look at forward calendar, as well as top competitors. And then you can also look at the amenities that we have registered for that property. So you can really carry out full in-depth analysis on each listing and get a better understanding of what features that property has and why it's achieving the performance it's achieving. And in terms of looking at this from an investment point of view, you probably want to pick out 5, even 6 properties that are most aligned with your strategy and your listing, and extract that and stick that into either your deal calculator or an Excel, looking at the ADR they're achieving, the occupancy they're achieving, especially when the property's got high availability as well. It's a full-time Airbnb. So that's probably the first step in understanding both competition, why the competition is achieving what it's achieving, and then drilling down where you're going to sit within that market, where either you want to get to or where you might be limited in terms of the property you're working with in rental arbitrage, or even if you're bought and there's no garden, understand the limitations of that listing and trying to push the boundary and get as high an ADR as possible for that listing and for the amenities and features that your property has. We then want to move to the next stage, which would be looking at future 12-month prediction and analysis through a valuation tool. So again, to carry out valuation, we want to put an address up here. You can search anywhere in the world. Again, we've used Glasgow address, and we've done 2-bed, 2-bath, 6 guests. You can change that, so we put that down to say 2-bed, 1.5 bath, and say 4 guests. We can then press search. And what this will do is this will then bring up a forward 12-month analysis across both revenue, ADR, and occupancy to get a better understanding of what that property might achieve, and also the comparables that are put together in order to build that valuation. So starting from the top, we can see straight off the bat you get your your revenue estimate, your ADR estimate, your occupancy estimate. You can then analyse the seasonality of those predictions. So we can see Glasgow specifically follows a standard pattern of low season in the winter, high season in the summer. We can see through the winter months, November, December, January, February, March is your real low season, February being the lowest in terms of revenue, and then we can see that starts to pick up as we go through the summer months and through June, July, August, and then as we cycle back through the low season in September, October. And that's definitely something that as a Airbnb operator and host, understanding the seasonality of your market is incredibly important, not only before you get into it, to understand that it's not going to be consistent monthly revenue, but also to understand what months you need to be prepared for without having extra cash flow to cover costs, if revenue's down over a prolonged period, waiting for that high season to kick in again. Now, if we scroll down to the second half of the page, we can then look at the comps that were used in order to come up with that valuation. So what we'll do is we'll pull together all of the most similar properties to the listing we've put in. Obviously, we can't see your property, but based on the address, we'll then put together a load of comparables, and those comparables will then be modelled together using both historical and forward-looking data, along with general market conditions to provide the valuation. It's always really important to come down and look at these comparables and make sure they're similar to the listing that you're evaluating, to make sure that you've got an accurate valuation and it's been modelled off of similar product and listings to what you're looking to evaluate. And again, these listings you can get the high level KPIs, but you can also get the detailed data as well through the slide out by clicking full details. And again, so that's probably rounding up this masterclass on how you can carry out listing level due diligence. Look out for the next one where we look at more market level and macro analysis to get a better understanding of the condition and performance of the market around the listing, and to understand if that will be impacted or if it's in a growing market and somewhere it should be actively invested in. But in the meantime, if you have any questions or want to reach out to one of the team to seek some further clarification, just make sure you press the chat on the right hand side, and that will guide you straight in to contacting one of the team.